Welcome back to the ChiroFit podcast, your number one podcast for all things fitness, flexible nutrition, and injury rehab. I'm your host, Dr. Yannick Schultz, and today I'm very excited to introduce our special guest. The reason I am so excited about this is he is now our new head coach within Moda's coaching system. He's been a part of our team for a couple months now, and his roles and responsibilities continue to grow. He's been a fantastic coach in person and online. He's been working in person for over 6 years. He's got a variety of different trainings and background and has worked with all sorts of clients. So please help me welcome Matt McGuire.
Thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Welcome. Welcome to the pod.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. So most people who are probably listening may not know you.
Mhm.
So give them a little bit better idea of who you are and maybe a bit of your background.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I've been a personal trainer for the last 6 years. Prior to that, I've been a semi-competitive athlete. I would say competitive athlete in both hockey and in
Boost
baseball.
yourself. Come on.
Yeah, competitive athlete. But yeah, I first got into fitness through my competitive sports. And then while going through education, going through my 2 years at Algonquin, that's when I kind of really got into it and started realizing that you're not going to take advice from someone that's unfit. You got to match the role that you are into, right? If you are a nutrition coach, if you're a coach, if you're a finance manager, you're going to have good finances to be able to give other people advice on how to manage their finances.
Good point.
So same idea as coaching and personal training. You're going to want to master your craft and be fit yourself. So other people are looking at you, be like, hey, he did it. He's doing or on the right track. Why would I not take advice from him? So
Fine.
that's kind of been where we're at so far. And then obviously joining you online is a new venture, but not too off the scale of what I'm used to.
Absolutely. Okay. So I'll ask kind of a dicey question. Do you feel like any coach, any person who's training somebody should be in shape?
Good question. I think it depends on the roles that they're working with, right? I've known and seen powerlifting coaches and professional athlete coaches that are maybe not their typical six pack, but when they come to flexibility and learning powerful lifts and training competitive athletes, they know how to not only demo the movements but demo them properly, as well as they have a long list of clients that have proven that they know what they're doing as well.
Yeah,
So to a certain degree, yes, but also they have to look like they know what they're doing and have done it for themselves.
I agree. I think, like you said, I think it depends on who you're working with, maybe who your demographic is, but I think ultimately people will come to you because they want to, in a certain way, look like you or admire what you've put in.
Hmm.
I think it also shows that if you are disciplined enough to work on yourself, that shows itself in all other areas of your life. I talk about this a lot and how, if we want to be better at any responsibilities or roles in our life, whether it's being a better parent, being a better employee, whatever it is, when you're somebody who looks a certain way, you exude a certain air of confidence. People respect you a little bit more. I hate to say it, but that's just generally how things go. If you walk
Absolutely.
into a room and your belly is the first thing that people see, I feel like the respect kind of drops from there. And
Hmm.
certainly, even more so in a position where you are instructing on health, fitness, and generally weight loss as well.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think I err more to the side of looking the part,
Yeah,
so to speak.
exactly. I mean, the big conversations about athletes right now where like they're walking into their game, whether it be a basketball, football, hockey player, and certain cultures have their athletes walking in with suits and looking the part and acting professional, whereas other athletes are walking in with a tracksuit or a Zara sweater, and they're like, and the results sometimes are the same as the way they're dressing, where they're not dressing professionally on the ice or court or field. They're not acting professionally. And I mean, it kind of gives the media a way to roll with it, but same idea as what we're talking with. If you are putting in the discipline for yourself and you are asking someone for that discipline and to help their goals, then
Yeah.
they're
I think how you show up for one thing is how you show up for everything. So,
exactly.
are you in track pants and still able to probably, kick the other team's butt? Probably, if you're the better team at the end of the day.
Hmm.
But there's just that, how we present ourselves, how we show up for things is then going to carry over into everything else.
Hmm.
And generally, the team that is united and shows up in that way is going to show up better on ice or on field or whatever it might be.
Mhm.
Cool. I'm glad we can agree on that. So, what would you like? What's kind of the main thing that got you into training? Obviously, you were in sports, but what led you to be like, okay, I want to pursue this more?
I think it's a positive impact on people. I know you've mentioned it in the past, but the gym environment is such a positive place for people to work at, as well as make new friends and make positive friends. Where you're in the gym, you're trying to better yourself, whether it's becoming stronger, whether it's become like losing weight, increasing your activity in general. And this person beside you warming up on the treadmill or in the squat rack or on the machine is aiming to do the same thing. And you know that everyone in there is encouraging and has come from a place where they're trying to improve themselves. And that environment is so positive and awesome. And I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be a leader in that environment. Um, growing up, my parents were not the most physically active when I was born. They may have been before, but there was a certain point where I have a sister that's 7 years younger than me. My mom wanted to get back into shape.
Mm,
She was like, "I'm tired of holding on to my 7 year old's uh, weight, pregnancy weight, and now I have a newborn who has the same thing,
mm,
who kind of increased my body weight. So I want to get back into shape. And watching her go through her process of getting back into shape, and not only the positivity that she felt, but that she was able to like bring back home after her hour session in a class or hour session with a personal trainer or just going to the gym and being a part of that environment, chatting, the social aspect. I want to be a part of that. I want to lead that
mm.
and influence someone not only for the hour that they're in the gym, but when they're at home, the impact to their friends, their families. And that's kind of where
I think that's the power of fitness that people don't see, right? People think, well, I don't want to work out or I don't like
Mhm.
this or whatever it might be. There's such an impact beyond just looking good in a way, right? Like that's just a piece of what you get.
Yeah.
But everything else you get, like the person who shows up and is more disciplined for themselves will, again, we talked about this at the start, but will see that in other areas of their life.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, with Modus, with our coaching, is that we want to share that with people. We want our, especially our male clients, to become better fathers, better leaders through the vehicle of fitness and health that allows them to take better care of themselves.
Mhm.
Like, yes, nobody wants to be 50 pounds overweight, but the person who is not 50 pounds overweight is more likely to also have more energy for their kids, to be able to pour back into them. And that's a perfect example with your mom, is you saw it yourself.
Mhm.
And that's awesome that that's, what led you to kind of wanting to do it yourself.
Not to mention also longer. They'll be able to be that father figure, that person that's interacting with their child, with their friends for a longer period of time. I have a client right now that is 74 and he's still golfing. He goes to hockey games with his son and he just had a hip replacement surgery.
Mm,
And he came into the gym 4 weeks after and he's like, "Okay, like there's certain parameters that I have to follow. But what am I going to do? Just sit at home and rot away? No, I'm going to come to the gym. I'm going to do what I can. If I'm doing a body weight box squat for a full hour mixed in with some sled pushes and a upper body movement, then I'll do that. But I'm not just going to sit there and twiddle my thumbs and read the newspaper. I'm going to come in and put in some work. I'm going to get out of the house and try to take that first step to becoming better with what I have at this moment."
right. I love that. Yeah. And there's, for me anyway, there's no lengths that I wouldn't go through to change my life if I knew it was impacting me in a way where it was stopping me. Like I had somebody I was speaking to as a potential client, and he was talking about how he was, about 50 plus pounds overweight.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest complaints was that when he was playing with his son, who was about 5 or 6, he'd have to tell his son, "Dad can't right now. I need to stop because I'm out of breath."
Mhm.
So he'd have to stop playing with his son, or it was affecting him going out and shoveling or doing whatever it is.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like if it is impacting to me to that degree, especially if it's also now affecting my son, there's no length I wouldn't go through to try and get myself back to where I want to
Agreed.
be. So yeah, and sometimes it's just starting small, like you said, like your client who's coming back from an injury, he's probably not going to do everything, but instead of sitting around, he's doing what he can,
Yep.
and that's always the starting point to me, is like do what you can, and start not when you feel ready, but start like when you have to
right
realistically.
away. There's a certain time where you have to rest. I went through an ACL recovery and full surgery, but there's a certain 3, 4 days where like you can't move, you can't walk. But once you're able to get out of the house and do something, whether it's just do upper body. I did upper body for 2 weeks. Did I hate it? No. But there's a certain point where I was like, I want to do some sort of leg movement to start my recovery. And like you, there was no one holding me back, and no one could hold me back from going to the gym. There was people saying like, "Oh, maybe you should rest." Or when I got to the gym, they're like, "Why are you here?" But it's because I could be. Why wouldn't I be if I could?
Right. Yeah. And hopefully more people can learn that. I think people sometimes get anxious or a little bit stressed when it does come to the gym, but
Hmm.
to me the benefit out will always outweigh, that hour of time. What you're giving yourself back is so much more important than what you have to invest for, again, an hour of your day. The
Exactly.
likelihood is you're going to go watch 4 hours of Netflix anyway, so what's one of those hours dedicated to yourself? Or
Exactly.
maybe it's at home or whatever it is. But now you mentioned something there. You said your ACL injury.
Hmm.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Tell us kind of what happened, and maybe let's go through what the recovery process has been for you.
Oh yeah. So recovery process has been a learning experience. So first off, I tore it playing a recreational sport. As plenty of the turf industry has not been great for athletes, and that's exactly how I tore my ACL. I did a basic pivot move, and my foot got caught in the turf, and pop went the ACL.
Mm,
Um, th- I mean, I didn't play football growing up, so it could have been partly because of the way I was training before my games, not practicing the explosive stuff. But essentially, tore my ACL in April, got surgery in September, and been slowly working with a physio assistant, going from movement to movement, and slowly working it back up to full strength. Still not there, but it's very humbling going from squatting heavy, pushing heavy, feeling very confident on both legs, to now trying to learn how to squat on both legs equally, and then
mm,
slowly upping the weight properly so that you're not favoring that strong side, and potentially causing injury to other parts of the body.
right. What do you feel like something you learned from that process? I mean, you're still probably going through it a little bit, but what's something you've kind of taken away from it, whether it's like the hardships of it or just the actual rehab itself?
There's some really lows. There's some very low lows. There's days where you're sitting in bed and you're feeling good, and there's sometimes when you wake up and you slept the wrong way and you can barely extend your leg,
Mm,
and that is probably the hardest part. Feeling the imbalance is difficult, but you in the back of your mind, you know that there's going to be that imbalance. Like if you're doing like a lunge and you have the same weight on the bar, and you're like, "Wow, this leg feels really good. This one doesn't." So kind of learning and trying to teach yourself how to do it properly without using a different muscle, or yeah, a different muscle to kind of fire and help out.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, the whole mental side of it, of what someone actually goes through a big injury like this, was a very big, uh, I would say, learning opportunity. It's definitely something I want to take further in my career, and help other people out when they go through something like this.
What's a piece of advice you'd give somebody knowing how you felt and what kind of got you through it? If somebody else has just done the same exact thing and they're probably feeling pretty down about it, maybe they're an athlete, whatever it might be, what advice would you give them kind of to get through that low point?
Um, Talk to people. Like, do what you can. Remember that it's only going to get better. You got the surgery, injured yourself. That was your lowest point. You got the surgery to improve yourself. And now that surgery should be your lowest point from then on. Right? If you're following each step, not rushing it, taking your time, doing what you're supposed to, physios give you homework, right? You give people homework. You're like, hey, you hurt yourself. This is not going to heal by itself. We're going to take it step by step, but you have to put in the work to be able to get back to normal. And that's kind of what I would say is take your time, but also do what you have to do to get back to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Right? Your surgery was the solution to your problem. That's not to say that it's going to be a flip of the switch and you're going to be back to your regular self. You're still going to have to put in work, but
I think a lot of people don't realize, and we went to the ACL summit a couple months ago,
mhm,
and one of the things we saw through that, I don't think people realize what goes into the recovery process
yeah,
of a surgery like that. Some are faster than others, and obviously everyone reacts differently, but it can literally be 6 months to a year of full recovery process.
mhm,
Now, you might be getting back to your normal activities or to some light stuff sooner, but to get back, especially if you're an athlete and you want to get back on the field, you're likely looking at 6 months to a year to fully rehab things. And one of the most interesting things that we learned there, and I think we chatted about this, but it's not actually the repair itself that takes longer. It's a lot of times it's the graft that they're using. So they're using a patellar tendon, a hamstring graft, whatever it might be. And it's actually the recovery of those muscles and tendons
mhm,
that take longer. And that's what you're working around, is not actually the replacement they did, because they can usually get that in there pretty good.
yeah,
But then you've got now weakness in the hamstring, or your patella is affected. And especially if you're a basketball player, jumping athlete, you need more patella. Soccer, any of these quick, fast twitch movements, you're going to need more hamstring.
yep,
So, yeah, I think like you said, it's like be down for whatever time you need, but obviously that's not going to change anything. And the surgery is not the final solution. It's just really that first kind of step to getting better from there.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and honestly, flexibility is a big part. Kind of going off of what you were saying. Um, that first step is trying to get that full range of motion back. And
Mhm.
in some cases, you're aiming to get like 80 to 85% right away, but over time, it's going to get better. And that's the main like pass fail to get back into your sport or doing the things you love, right? Um, in case you fall, in case you twist weird, in case you extend. Like your knee is meant to take impact, but if it's not as flexible as the other one or as it should be, then the higher chance of re-injury is that there's a higher chance of re-injury.
I mean, that's one of the first things I look at with any patient in clinic or even our clients online is I'm wanting to see your range of motion. I want to see your movement. I want to see the things that you're trying to do. If you have a deficit in range of motion, I think we had a client the other day, we were talking about his elbow. He had elbow pain. So I said, okay, send me videos of you moving your wrist and moving your shoulder. And we actually saw that he was pretty limited in the way he would move his wrist. And if
Mhm.
you think of somebody who's lifting weights, that's then going to have an impact on the elbow. But if I didn't know that, if we don't look at that, or if you don't restore that range of motion, it's just going to keep causing issues, even if you fix where the pain is.
Mhm.
The same kind of applies to your knee. Is like if you don't, restore as much of that range of motion back as possible, you're likely going to compensate, or you're going to be compromised for a while, and then that could lead to re-injury at some
Mhm.
point.
And then question for you, out of the percentage of clients that you have in your Cairo, um, how many do you feel follow your homework to a T 100%? Like what percentage of your clients?
50%? No,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we harp it pretty big. Like, it's
Mhm.
within our practice, capital strength. That's a big emphasis for us, is the rehab process,
Mhm.
and we do a lot of the rehab there. I think in previous clinics or spaces that I've been, it was like, here's the last like 10% of your visit, do these little exercises and go off. And then,
Mhm.
you don't know. I think for us, we front load it. We make it something that's important. Sometimes it's the first thing I'm going to look at before even doing any sort of treatment. So I think we emphasize that a little bit more. And I think the adherence to it is a bit higher.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think most people probably don't do it. I will over prescribe dosage knowing that somebody's going to do less.
Yeah.
So, for example, a Mackenzie extension, so it's kind of a cobra where you extend your back, usually pretty good for those who have flexion intolerance or had like kind of a disc injury. It's not the answer for everyone, but it works pretty well.
Mhm.
I will sometimes give people that 10 every hour or 10 every 2 hours. And so somebody looks at me and they're like, you want me to do this often? But the reason is I know, one, I do want that frequency. But two, I also know if I tell you every hour, you're going to do every couple of hours.
Mhm.
And so if I told you to do it 12 times, you're probably going to do it 6 times. And I'd rather six than if I told you to do it 6 times, you're probably going to do it two
Three or
times.
two. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's all how you educate. And give the confidence to the client that like, hey, if we do this, it's going to change things. And
Mhm.
usually in clinic, we can change things pretty quickly through exercise.
Yep.
And I can show them right in that moment, see how this affects this. Or even with our online clients, we can give them an exercise, we can show them something, we can have them send us a video and make corrections right away. And they can see the change in their pain and how things are functioning.
Almost right away.
So
Yep.
there's that buy-in. But I think if you don't give somebody a certain level of buy-in, yeah, they're not going to do it,
Hmm.
even if they are good clients or not. It's not there.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Good question, though. I like that. So one of the reasons that we had brought you in to Modus was because I saw, you know, a ton of potential. I knew you from the gym, but I also knew that we aligned on a lot of things,
Hmm.
that we'd come from athletic backgrounds. We approach things maybe more sustainably and flexibly, and we've worked with all sorts of kind of general population. So
Yeah.
maybe talk a little bit about how, with working with that clientele, these busy individuals who obviously have a life outside of the gym,
Hmm.
maybe what you've kind of taken away with that, and how that's allowed you to work with more people in that
Yeah.
space.
So personal training has been great, but you can only impact that client for 1 to 2 hours a week. And if you're doing group classes, then maybe 4 or 5 hours a week, where the online coach and space, you can kind of see what they're doing at home, whether they're walking, if they have a dog, what they're eating. So kind of tapping into their why and how not only their effort in the gym can help them, but what they're matching it at home does is a big help. But at the same time, that moderation life is huge, where like you said, these people are busy, they have other lives, they have to take care of their kids. It's not just going to be about them 24/7, as if they're living at home alone. They have to adapt around their busy schedule. So kind of helping that out, as well as letting them understand that it's not necessarily them doing the right thing 100% of the time. It's them doing the right thing 70% of the time for the entire week.
Mm,
Where I think often we see a client follow the proper and very strict, I wouldn't say proper, but a very strict diet slash routine from Monday through Friday. But then they will go to a friend's, go to a family member's house, and they'll binge eat and have every snack that they avoided for the entire week, and they'll shoot their calories up 1,000 or 2,000 above what their recommended is.
mhm,
And that's what we want to avoid. As like you said, we align in a lot of things, but that's one where that moderation life, where you know what, having an Oreo or two uh, just after dinner, if it fits in your calories, is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you are having no Oreos. I like to use Oreos as an example. But then having an
speaking my
entire,
language.
yeah, if you're having an entire pack on a Saturday night after you went out with your buddies, then that's where the problem is, because it's going to raise that average up for that entire week. So it's you much rather have one every second day. That way you go through, we'll say, half the pack in a week instead of having the entire pack on a Saturday night.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just laws of averages, really. I mean, calories at the end of the day are just a budget for you to kind of adhere to. And if you can stay within that budget, you're going to guarantee that you're going to progress. But most people, like you said, don't maybe follow a rule of flexibility, or they're way
Mhm.
too rigid and then they just fall off at certain points. So if you had 2,500 all week, but then you had 4,000 both Saturday and Sunday, your average is now no longer 2,500. Whereas
Mhm.
the person who was 2,500 the entire week, but maybe was able to fit some things in there, or maybe had 1 or 2 days that were a little bit higher because they had some Oreos, that their average is still probably going to be between 25 and 26.
Mhm.
And so they're going to see more success, even though they probably had Oreos every single day, versus the person who just destroyed them over the weekend.
Yeah.
And like you said, Oreos is just the example. Could be pizza, could be beer, could be whatever.
Mhm.
But this is why we really appreciate the flexible and sustainable approach. I think in that line, what we're talking about is people who, not necessarily in our program, who may be doing it on their own. Oftentimes what I see is that people are like, yeah, I lost the 20 pounds, I went all in, I did this, but then I regained it
Yeah.
a couple of months later. And it's like, okay, well, that probably wasn't a sustainable approach for you,
Yeah.
because if you just fell off of it, it wasn't something you could keep up with. And people tend to like go hard and they're like, I got this, especially new year, new me. I think we're now probably at the time of year where people are starting to slowly drop out of that.
Absolutely.
And again, it's because it's become something that's unsustainable, and or you try and do too much, you go from zero to hero, and then you're just back to ground zero.
No, that's exactly it. It's the all-in approach where like, you know what, I'm gonna make the biggest switch I can because I know I have to. And eventually, since it doesn't match your routine at all, you're going to the gym at 6 a.m. when you never went to the gym before, your body gets tired, it's just not sustainable, then they fall off and they're like, I can't do this anymore. And
Yeah.
instead of starting going to the gym for 30 minutes after work, you pack your bags, you pack a carb bar or something. You go to the gym for 30 minutes, you come home, and your routine doesn't really change. And then you slowly make the changes that you need to match your current routine to the routine that you want to have. But if you make that big switch right away, it's almost you're destined for failure. And that's where we come in, where we can kind of allow that small switch or those small switches to allow for a longer sustainable outcome.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the old story of the tortoise and the hare,
Hmm.
right? It's the person who I'd rather see you do 2 or 3 times a week of workouts, but do that for 6 months to a year
Hmm.
than you're doing 6 workouts a week, you're going all out, but then you don't last past 3 months. Like the person who's doing 2 or 3 is going to see longer and more sustainable results over time.
Yep.
So, yeah, something maybe clients would have this question or inquire about is, and this isn't a shot at you,
Hmm.
but you're a little bit younger,
Yep.
right? Or younger than me. At least I feel old these days. I'm not that old, but so what would you kind of say to that as somebody who might be coming in and be like, I'm not sure because he is a little bit younger. Now,
Mhm.
I obviously know a lot different, and I know that you have tons of experience and you're very well versed, but what would you kind of say to somebody who might question your age?
Yeah, that's kind of it. I've worked with vast majority of clients that have seen results. I've also seen the clients over the last 6 years. So whether it's a mother of a 6 month old son to a dad that wants to get bigger arms, um, it's all experience, and I've gone through 2 years of nutrition, uh, physical coaching, but as well as the 6 years of experience with the mass population that I have seen. That's kind of where I find that I have the expertise to be able to talk to a 45-year-old male or female and say, hey, this is why we need to make changes. This is where you have to make changes, and explain to them how we're going to get to the point that they want to be, similar to what we were talking about, nice and slow, and why it will last longer than if they try to do it by themselves.
Yeah, I love that. I think the experience speaks volume, right?
Mhm.
You also have 6 years of boots on the ground that most online trainers probably don't even have.
Mhm.
Funny enough. So you've got more experience than most in a short, condensed time through your schooling, your programming, and if I'm not mistaken, you're continuing your education now to even increase your knowledge, which I mean, I commend you on doing that as
Yeah.
well. I think it's impressive to have been in the field for 6 years and then continue to want to improve that as
Mhm.
well. As someone who did, just shy of 10 years of school, I can appreciate, you wanting to continue and to educate yourself. So
Yeah.
props to you on that.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think it also goes beyond the experience for you. It's then being exposed to the different demographics, and you don't necessarily have to be that, but you have to kind of embody that or live it a little bit in your own way.
Mhm.
I have, I've had many female clients over the years. We both share some female clients, and sometimes we'll get the question of, well, you're a man, you're not a
Mhm.
woman. How could you understand this? And they're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I am not a woman, and I'm not going through the hormonal changes and all these things, but we've worked with enough female clients to gain the understanding. We have enough, women in our lives, learn enough from my wife. She'll hate me for saying that. But to understand how things kind of work. And then obviously the education beyond that. I don't think there's anything that says that you can't be a great female coach who coaches men or a male coach who coaches female. It's really the understanding, and yes, there's a layer of relatability we'll never have because we're not experiencing it directly, but we can still meet them where they're at and then be able to kind of hit those problems head on. And as long as the client is willing to communicate with us what's going on,
Yep.
then we can still navigate just about anything.
Mhm. Yeah, I have a few female clients on the go. that of course they complain about kind of cravings and hormonal changes as you were talking about. And we don't always have to forget about those cravings. It's about adapting to our goals. If you can find a healthy alternative, also this can be associated with men too. If you can find a healthy alternative for your cravings that have less calories, less sugar, higher protein, then what's wrong with adding that into your daily, weekly routine if it's a benefit or a positive from what the alternative is, right? So,
Agree.
yeah,
And I think by by the way, for everybody, men experience a lot of these things too
mhm,
in a different way. I think we just maybe stay a little more silent about it. And what I mean by that is like the cravings, the fear of carbs, the scale. Men have those fears too.
yep,
And it's just, I think female clients tend to be a little more vocal about it. And it's just historically we've known that it's more of an emphasis for women. But both men and women have both of these issues, worry about these things, have the same kind of look in the mirror and feel a certain way.
mhm,
And it might be in different ways, but it's still a concern for everybody.
yep,
And so it's I don't think it necessarily has to be one or the other. It's just more prominent in a certain demographic than the others. But I think that's more social culture than it is the actual fact that it's just relatable to one or the other.
yep,
Now, granted, there are more hormonal things probably going on with female clients, but we see tons of hormonal issues within men as well. So we're human at the end of the day, and so we're taking that into consideration. Now, as men, we obviously don't have to go through pregnancy, and that's just one thing we'll never have to do, and it's pretty amazing what women have to go through that we really truly will
absolutely,
never
yeah.
fully understand. So
Love you, mom.
yeah, props to all the beautiful moms out there. But yeah, I mean, there's still, I think, a mutual understanding between whether you're a male coach or female coach for sure.
Mhm,
Just to wrap up my point. Cool. So obviously, with your 6 years plus, let's say, in person coaching,
mhm.
what's one of the biggest misconceptions, lies, whatever you want to call it, that you've seen in people when they first come to you? Something that you've just commonly kind of seen across the board.
Wow. Um, I can go about this two ways. One is gonna be like the nutrition aspect, and the other part is gonna be the working out aspect. I'm gonna start with the working out. Is the I have to do every single movement all the time to see results. Where instead of sitting there and being patient and being like, okay, like I'm gonna do squats and I'm gonna do squats and perfect squats. And then I'm gonna do lunges. I'm gonna perfect lunges. And I'm gonna do my hinge. And that's how I'm gonna structure my workout. It's like uh, a all or nothing where they're trying to fit in 12, 14 movements all in a short amount of time instead of allowing one movement to have that center face and to increase the intensity to a certain point with that one movement. And if you do only four movements in the entire hour, but you had a high intensity per set for those four movements, I feel like that would benefit you more than doing your eight movements or 12 movements in that hour and just trying to fly through it with the least amount of rest. That'll bring me to my next point, rest between sets. If you are effectively working a muscle and doing a movement and do not need rest after, then I feel like you're not maximizing that intensity, which you're not maximizing the outcome of that movement, which is muscle growth, which, yeah. On the other side of the nutrition aspect, you mentioned it, the I'm afraid of carbs. I don't want to eat past. I'm going to cut them all out because I'm going to lose weight that way, which sure, you may lose weight, but you're also going to hate yourself for the time that you're not eating carbs. You're not going to have any energy. You're going to have brain fog and you're going to get sick of all the proteins and fats that you're eating. Right? We mentioned it. It's all about that moderation where you're eating a little bit of everything. Maybe there's a certain time you're eating certain things to maximize or minimize the cravings, but the the I hate carbs movement is purely insane, not only for enjoyment because I love pasta and rice and everything involved, bread, but it's such an important part of your nutritional journey, and your body needs them to function on a day-to-day basis.
Well said. Very well said. I couldn't agree more. I think there's a time and place for everything, and it's not to say that like lower carb things or whatever can't work, but I think to completely eliminate them, you're
Mhm,
just doing yourself a disservice, especially if your ultimate goal is to change your physique, grow muscle, get stronger, or if you have any performance goals. I ran into this with some clients when I was running a nutrition group through Capital. We had a couple athletes who were wanting to lose body fat,
mhm.
but were also high performance athletes.
Athletes.
And so they're like, well, I want to cut down calories and I want to cut down carbs. And it's like, well, you have to kind of pick a lane here, unfortunately.
Mhm,
You will likely lose fat because of the intensity of what you're working on. But if you cut too much or cut too many carbs, then you don't have the fuel necessary for your performance.
mhm.
So, do you want the performance or do you want the fat loss? Unfortunately, there is kind of a give and take. Now, again, if you're a cyclist or if you're a marathoner, you're probably going to be burning so many calories that, in a sense, you're going to get yourself in a deficit enough to see change over time.
Mhm.
But a lot of them is like, well, I'm hungry, I'm tired, and I'm not gymming as well. Okay, cool. Well, then maybe right now, if performance is the main thing, we should then focus on that and not focus solely on losing body fat. So
Yep.
put yourself kind of in a middle range where you are going to probably lose a bit of fat, maybe not as rapidly as you'd like, but it won't impact your performance.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's all time and place, and you need to know how to live that balance, including the things like carbs, not completely eliminating them.
Yeah.
Which is why I hate keto, just in case anyone was wondering. Okay. Um, if we kind of go along with what we were just talking about, where maybe there's things that we don't love as much with, or we'll say the kind of the common misconceptions.
Mhm.
We kind of touched on this, but where do you feel like things get overcomplicated? Do you feel like, let me reword this. Do you feel like people change things up too much?
Yes. I think a big uh negative culture in the fitness industry is I'm bored of this movement, where you can talk to any coach, but a lot of them have had a some sort of a horizontal pull, a horizontal push, a hinge, a squat. They've been doing the same movement to perfection because they know that if they want stronger legs, you're going to have a compound movement to maximize load. And typically that is either a barbell deadlift or a barbell squat. I've been doing barbell squats for when I can and when I could for 6 years,
Mm,
every single week. And sure, I change the tempo, or I'll change the weight, or I'll change the reps, but it's always been there because I know that if I want stronger legs, that I have to do it. So I think the switching movements, switching workouts is viewed poorly, where you don't have to change the movement, maybe where it is in your sequence. So you have a movement that's, I like going 1A, 1B, 1C. If you have a movement that's at 1A for 6 weeks, and that's your highlighted movement, that's your most intense movement, you're freshest in the lift, you're getting the most out of that movement, then usually you would bring it back down, or bring another movement to that highlighted position where you have more juice to perform that movement. But to switch your workout often, where you're removing a big lift that you know is good for you, to remove it entirely, I feel like that's where that fitness industry, people getting bored, that's where that negative is, I think.
yeah, I think we see it pretty often. And I think this is a knock for, maybe not a knock on our clients, but if you are this person, you'll recognize yourself. People want to switch things up all the time.
Yeah.
And I get it. You don't want to be bored and doing the same thing all the time. And I think this is like what you were talking about, where it's, as a coach, it's understanding how do we maybe change the variation, but it still has the same outcome?
Hmm.
Because a horizontal pull can be a horizontal pull in a bunch of different ways.
Yep.
So maybe we change those things. I think for me, I always like keeping the skeleton structure and then either restructuring the order of the program, the volume of the program, or like you said, maybe we're swapping a squat for a hack squat or a Smith squat or whatever it might be, so that there's still similar stimulus at the end of the day.
Hmm.
But I think where people go wrong is they're either bored or they just think that they need to switch it up to confuse the muscle. That was the old like myth for so long is you got to shock,
Shock the system.
surprise the muscles. And it's like they're not surprised. They know what's coming. And I think that that's where people overcomplicate things. Is
Mhm.
like they're like, I need every month a new workout. And we've had clients say that too, like, oh, are we switching up the workout this month? And it's like, no, we want you to build the pattern, get consistent, and get stronger in this movement so that you can progress, get stronger, and then ultimately build more muscle. If
Mhm.
you're changing the workouts every month, you're no longer building that consistency. You're just completely falling off. Again, I do think it needs to be fresh and fun
Yep,
for them.
absolutely.
So if they're bored, we can always switch things. But I think Kobe Bryant said it best. You got to get bored with the basics, like
Mhm.
really nail the basics and just get bored with those because that's what's going to help you ultimately become better.
Mhm.
So I agree. I think we see a little bit too much program switching just in general.
Yeah,
So with you, you've probably worked with both athletes and kind of GP, general population.
I have, yes.
Where do you kind of see, is there a difference? Is there a crossover when it comes to, let's say, functional longevity training or more kind of power training for sports? Or is there a blend between those two worlds?
I think there's definitely a blend. Obviously, I'm not gonna have my mother of a 2-year-old doing box jumps. But when it comes to a functional standpoint, I think that the range of motion is parallel with both athletes and general pop. I think you have to try to maximize the range of motion for that body type as best as you can. That will one provide longer lasting effects, as well as on the other end avoid any injury when we are upping the weight.
Hmm.
Where if you already have a shortened range of motion, whether it's an athlete or a general population person, the range of motion is key. Especially for an athlete because their body's adapting to whatever's going on around them, whether they're playing hockey, whether they're playing football, whether they're playing soccer, baseball. If your body cannot bend under control, then it won't be able to bend the way you want it when you're getting hit into a boards, when
Mhm.
you're getting slide tackling or diving into a base, right? If your shoulder stability is not A1, then when you get hit or when it takes an impact, there's a higher chance of injury. On the general pop side, if you want to get stronger, then you want to increase muscle mass. You want to get lower into your squat. Muscle grows with the stretching and contracting. So the further we can stretch and contract, the higher chance that the muscle grows and gets stronger is.
Mhm.
So when you're talking about flexibility, yes, but when you're talking about the explosiveness of someone, then that's usually catered towards like the athletic side of
Yeah,
that.
I agree with that. I think there's a crossover between two. Do I think that, maybe just the person who's looking to get in better shape, just overall, do they need, as like you said, as many explosive movements or functional, like sport specific movements, we'll
Mhm.
say. But I think that one thing that will always cross on both sides is just strength.
Yep.
If you get stronger, no matter what, it'll cross over to every piece of whatever you're doing. So if you're an athlete and you get stronger, it's still going to make you better on the ice no matter what.
Yep.
Now, I still think that athletes probably need a little bit more sport specific stuff just to kind of blend into the world of what they're doing. Like you said, it's exposure more than anything. And that could
Mhm.
be prevention, but it can also be getting stronger in those end ranges that you're not maybe going to spend as much time.
Mhm.
But I think that it could be said that it's also powerful to put your general population people through some of those things to just have general exposure and get them stronger and more flexible overall.
Yep. We're also talking about excitement. If you add one of those explosive movements into a general pop, they're be like, "Whoa, what is this?" And their body will adapt differently because of that. Also, they'll probably get a pretty solid pump from it because of it's a new movement that they haven't done for X amount of years.
Right. Yeah. And it's just like you said, it's the enjoyment of, hey, this is something new and we can play around with this. And I like that.
Mhm.
Okay. So as our new coach within the Modus team, what are you most excited about within Modus or excited about what you can bring to our roster?
Yeah. First off, the opportunity to work with you. We've known each other for a few years, so it's gonna be cool to not only learn from you, but like grow this with you. Um, but allowing my I talked about like helping people, um, that reach to expand, where it's not just like in my community, it could be in something bigger. The online community is so much bigger than what the corner of the world that we're in.
Hmm.
So being able to help people in different communities, and you mentioned like helping people lead their communities, where if we have someone in our I'm gonna say grass, but working with us, um, and they're going to the gym, and they're talking about their outcomes, and the way that they're progressing through our platform. That creates a whole new environment in the community that they're building
Hmm.
and that they're involved in. Um, so that's what I'm really excited for. Just that expanding of people I can influence and help, and well, hopefully positively. But yeah.
So far, I think it is positive, so that's
Mhm.
good. And we're excited to have you. We're really happy to have you on the team. You're an excellent fit. I know everyone's, already those that you're working with enjoy working with you, and I know that those who are going to in the future are definitely going to benefit from learning from you and working from you as well. So we're super excited to have you as part of the team. So
Amazing. Thank you.
thanks for being here. When you look back at kind of what you've learned, what's something, whether it's in your athletic career, your coaching career, what's a lesson that you've learned, whether it's just in life or business or training itself? What's one of the biggest lessons?
uh One size does not fit all.
Hmm, interesting.
You can prescribe a squat to 10 different people and they're going to feel it 10 different ways. Some will be feeling in their quads, some will feel it in their glutes, some will feel in their lower back. But it's our job to modify and change things so it's effective for those 10 people. Whether it is the same movement, whether it's a different movement. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the biggest learning point, as well as people will adhere to different motivators, where some people you have to be stern with and be like, listen, you wanted this is what we're going to do.
Mhm.
If you don't want to do this, just tell me now. Like, you wanted to lose 15 pounds in the next 2 months, this is the way that's going to happen. If you don't want to do it and don't want to follow what we have in store and what we talked about, then that's okay. And others you'll have to be a little more gentle with. Adhere to their motivators.
Yeah, and I think ultimately people come to us because they want the push, they want
Mhm.
the accountability. So we have to do our due diligence as the coaches to ensure that they are doing what they set out to do. Now
Mhm.
we can't pull people along, we can't drag them. I think that's what people hope is like, you're going to do everything for me.
Yeah. Can't put in the work.
No, we can't do those things, but we can put the blueprint there. We can hold you accountable. We can make sure that you are doing the things that you set out to do. But ultimately, you still have to have the intrinsic motivation to be like, yeah, like these are the things I need to follow through with. Especially if somebody's in your ear saying, hey, let's go, let's get this going.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think that's a big piece of it. Since you're kind of in both spaces, what do you feel like are maybe some of the differences that people don't know or most people may not know about online coaching or how that could be different to in-person training. How do you feel like it differs and maybe what are some of the bonuses to the online space?
Online space is almost more personal and more hands-on than the in-person space.
Mm,
We are at your dying need within 24 hours. Any modifications that you need to a workout can be done on the instant. Uh, and if you allow us, if you're communicating the way that we hope, we can see and progress your your goals a lot quicker than in person.
mm,
Whereas some in-person trainers do allow that service, but in the environment that I've been in, it's not. And that's kind of where the two sides are different. Where online coaching, we control your or we can control and see your nutrition intake, your workout intensity, and your movements and their weights. where in-person training, as I mentioned, you're only seeing them for 2 to 5 hours a week. So that's the only time where you can actually control what is happening in their lives
Yeah.
or influence what's happening in their lives, I guess you would say.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I'm more of an online coach than anything, and more of my in person is Cairo. I don't really do a ton of in person coaching or training, but to me, I see it as if that's what you truly need,
Mhm.
it can be a great fit. Especially if you're somebody who's maybe doesn't have the experience, who hasn't done any lifts, like you
Yep.
probably need somebody there with you in person. I often will turn away some clients that just are completely green because
Yep.
I feel like they need somebody there to help them.
Mhm.
But if you've got general experience, you've already kind of worked out and you know that you can kind of work out on your own, the online space I think provides tenfold. Like you said,
Absolutely.
we are watching everything at all times. We can see sleep metrics, we can see whether they're getting their steps or not. Sometimes it's more the not than they doing it, but
Mhm.
we have every data, every graph on our end to be able to tell us, is this person showing up in the way that they said they would for the goal that they want? And if they're
Mhm.
not, here's the exact reason why. Whereas in person training, as fantastic as it is, it's that hour of time
Yep.
and you get that hour. But what happens the other 23 hours? Obviously, they're sleeping in there, but what is going on for those other 23 hours? That trainer may not know and may not have zero idea. But with us, we can almost get a picture of what have you done for your entirety of your week, your days, and even sometimes hours. And we can then adapt and make changes very rapidly to that. Or if things are not working, hey, I'm not losing weight. It's been 2 or 3 weeks. Well, cool. It's because of this, this, this.
Yep.
Or everything's gone perfect. Why are we not losing weight? There's something that we need to change. But if you're only seeing them a couple of times a week in person, that can be challenging to get a good glimpse at what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the online space, we're able to hold our clients more accountable to what's going on,
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
kind of summarize what you said, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, I think in person could be fantastic. But I think some people are scared to do online because they assume there's less personality, there's
Yeah.
less closeness, that you're not going to have as much contact as you would if you were there in person.
Mhm.
But in fact, it's kind of the opposite. You're almost getting more contact. Like we can text and talk and chat every single day, realistically, if we need to help you get to where you need to. Especially in the start, you're probably going to need more contact.
Mhm.
So to me, it's almost an advantage, especially if you don't need the in person like guidance.
Yeah. Agreed.
Cool. I like that. If someone's listening right now, they've made it this far, congrats. Uh, if someone's listening and they're on the fence about getting coaching because maybe they've been burnt in the past, they've done cookie cutter stuff, they did in person, whatever it might be, what would you kind of say to them, maybe as encouragement to giving this a try?
Why not? Why not? If you are someone that has tried to achieve a goal for X amount of years and you've tried doing it by yourself, you've tried an in-person training, you've tried a nutritionist and nothing seems to work, what else do you have to lose other than just losing your vision of your goal? Like like we talked about when we started this is there's no l- amount of ends that I will try to search for, or there's no length that I won't go to try to achieve or get to where I want to be.
Yeah.
I I have this goal in mind. I'm driven by it and I'm obsessed by it and I want to get there.
Yeah.
So why not check out any box that can assist you with that goal? And how do you not know that this box is going to be the one that's like, wow, that is going to be the one that brings me to where I want to be.
Have this conversation every day in my DMs where it's, oh, no, online's not going to work for me. It's like, how do you know?
Yeah.
My next question is usually, oh, okay, have you tried it? And then they're followed by no, but I just know it's not going to work. How do you know that? And yeah, so I like that. Yeah, I mean, it's what do you got to lose at that point,
What do you have to
especially if
lose?
you've exhausted other angles. Um, so yeah, I think it's absolutely. If you wanted to give our listeners one thing that they could apply this week to instantly kind of improve their training or their routine, what's one small thing that they could do right now?
One small thing. Walk. I think any client that has ever aimed to lose weight, especially with us, they aim for 10K steps. That's a kind of our baseline. Whether you're someone in the office, whether you're retired, just walk. It's the easiest way to get movement in.
I love that.
Just walk. Just go to the further bathroom in your building. Park a little bit further in your in the parking lot. If you're going to the mall, do a full lap under the floor that you have to go to before going to the store that you plan on going to. It's so easy. And if you're not walking in a day, then that means that, well, you're telling me that you're going from your bed to your car seat to your office, sitting all day for your 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, then hopping in your car, then going to the kitchen table, and then going back to bed. And if you're doing that for 5 days out of the 7 days, then like the, first off, there's also some gaps where we can incorporate some more walking,
Mhm.
but like that just sounds like such a sad way to live your life.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. I also don't think it like we strive for the 10K, but if you're somebody just starting and you typically look at your watch and you get 2,000 steps,
Yeah.
shoot for 5,
Yeah.
shoot for
Take the small
6,
step.
start and build, right? And meet yourself where you are at. If you're shooting for 10K, it's going to seem like an impossibility at times.
Yep.
Most of our clients are already pretty active, so it's an easy, here's the target. But like to your point, there's micro movements throughout the day that we can do. It's just most of the time we don't take the effort, and we're going from one sitting to another sitting, and then we're on the couch, we're watching Netflix, and then it's just this revolving door of sitting in a sense. And it can be pretty easy to get 10K steps when you have the actual effort. Now, you may have to do some extra things if you do sit at a desk all day. We have the fortune of not always being at a desk all the
Mhm.
time. We do when we're working with our clients, but we're generally pretty active in between that.
Yep.
Not everyone 9 to 5 has that luxury, but don't tell me you don't have time to get up and move a little bit throughout the day, because you do. And maybe that's not going to be 10K steps, but even if it's 5 to start and then you build up from there. So I think that is the easiest and best recommendation for anyone is just
Start walking. You don't have to learn how to do a squat. Don't have to learn how to do a push up. Just start walking.
it's an easy start for everyone, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. I like it. All right. Well, let's cap this off with a bit of a rapid fire.
Oh boy.
All right.
On the edge of
So,
my seat.
what is one of your favorite exercises that you love, but that your clients hate?
Chin ups.
Chin ups.
Chin up.
You love it, they hate it.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the worst current gym trend you're seeing across the board?
Uh Interval slash hit training. The high peak in heart rate, followed by a little bit of a rest, followed by the high peak, and that goes on forever. And it's labeled as a fat loss technique when, for the most part, it's not a fat loss technique.
Okay, I like that. What's one supplement you think actually is worth buying?
Creatine. Everyone should be on it, whether you are trying to gain muscle or just someone at home, because it not only it's the most studied supplement out there, but for brain function, for body function, creatine.
Love it. I couldn't agree more. What's the most meathead thing you've ever done in the gym?
Uh Tripped on a step, the same step 3 or 4 times.
Okay, that's different than any other answer we've ever had. I like it.
What is your answer to that?
I don't know. I've done some pretty dumb things in the gym.
I spilled
Probably slamming weights of some
Yeah.
sort or doing something stupid.
I spilled chalk everywhere today.
Did you? Nice. Okay, we'll count that. What kind of music do you listen to when you're getting pumped up for the gym?
It changes all the time.
Give us a couple answers.
Usually Drake.
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 Drake pumps you up.
Yeah, Drake
If
is
you're
good.
reading this, it pumps you up.
Yep.
I love it. I love Drake. I don't know if he was my gym pump up, but I was listening to Rick Ross this morning. That got me going.
There you go.
All right. If you weren't a trainer, what would you be doing?
Damn, good question. Um, I mean, I did this part-time, but I was a college professor.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay, that's cool.
Or TA. So educating people who want to be trainers is what I did.
Okay.
But some sort of version of that.
Some sort of education or
Education,
teaching or something.
teaching. Yeah.
Which is part of what we do as well. But
Mhm.
yeah. Okay. Cool. I like it. All right. Well, this has been awesome. Appreciate you coming on, and
Thanks
we're
for
very
having me.
excited for what's to come with the Modus coaching future,
Absolutely.
and what you're going to bring to the team. So, we're excited. So appreciate you.
Thanks so much.
See you guys.